welcome to Axel's Garage. Well, this is a double first, because this is our first maintenance video with the Maverick, and it's our first video with the new GoPro. So excuse the wind noise. We don't have the camera fully set up. I'm using it naked, so it might be a little windy. I don't know how the audio is going to come out. This is all new to us, and it's the first time with this camera. But what we have today with our 2023 Maverick is time to rotate the tires. Now, these things go, the hybrids especially, an extended run on the synthetic oil that's in it. The average is around 10,000 miles, and when the indicator in the vehicle tells you that it's time to change the oil is when it's time to change the oil, roughly 10,000. I believe there might be a top mileage spec in the owner's manual. I'll have to check on that. And I'll put it in the comments below what the suggested maintenance, actually the wording says. A little confusing, the owner's manual. But because you got to remember, the hybrid isn't running the amount of time that a gas engine is running for the same mileage. So what do we have? We have about 5,800 or so miles. Let's check that. All right, so our mileage there is 5399.4 on the miles. All right, so what we're gonna need is a floor jack, a jack stand, and some kind of tool to get the lug nuts off. We're gonna use an electric Milwaukee impact and a socket, and I'll show you that as soon as we get it out. So I have the vehicle jacked up in the back. I have a jack stand under it. There are arrows on the bottom right next to the pinch weld that show you the front jacking spot location and the rear jacking spot location. However, you have to use a little bit of judgment, because you're going to jack and then you're going to use a jack stand to support the vehicle. So make sure that you're placing your jack stand and your jack near that heavy duty 3-layer pinch weld, not just a 2-layer pinch weld running down the middle, or something substantial in the suspension to keep it up safely. Then I'm going to use a 21mm thin wall impact socket with a protective sleeve and my M12 stubby. That usually gets the job done. And let's see, these lug nuts on these Mavericks are actually 148 foot-pound is the torque spec. So hopefully we can blast this off. 148 is even higher than all my full-size trucks. They're all at 140. Go figure. While I normally go rear to front and then front crossed back to rear, Ford actually recommends going front to rear on the same side and then taking that rear tire and crossing it and put it in the front on the other side. So I'm going to do this, first new vehicle in 30 something years. I'm going to follow their recommendation. I'm not going to do it the way I normally do it. I'll continue to do it the way I've always done it my entire adult life for all the other cars, but for this one, I'm going to go with their recommendation. I was able to get those off. Took a little bit of grunt out of that little stubby ratchet impact, I should say, but it did it. So now I have to take that rear tire is going to go to the front on that side. So from there to there, here to there, right? Yes. Got to think about it in your head a little bit, because that's not the way I normally do it. So now I have to think. Normally I don't have to think. It's just zoop, zoop, over, zoop, zoop, over. That's why I always start there, because that's my last one. I'm like starting it doesn't matter really. I don't know. So under the front of the car, you have your plastic valance, and I don't know how well it's going to come up on camera, but there's a little arrow. There you go. Little arrow, and you can see it's by the thicker part of the pinch weld. You can see as it goes on, there's only a double layer pinch weld over here, but over here it's actually 4 layers, and that's where they want the jack to go right on that pinch weld. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that pinch weld location at the arrow for my jack stand, and I put my jack stand there, and now I can let it down onto the jack stand. All right, so after getting the tire on, I used a little white lithium grease to the known corrosion spots where the dissimilar metals meet. That's just my normal practice. Little on that rotor face and around where the hub pokes through the rotor. Put the wheel on. I only put 4 lug nuts on because we do have a set of locks that were delivered with the vehicle but never put on, so we're going to throw them on as well. So just until they all seated nice and easy, and then I starred them in using a 120 foot-pound torque stick. The reason why I use a 120 foot-pound torque stick is because I want to get it to about the 120s. I'm happy if I hit 120. Sometimes these over tighten a little bit when you use electric impact tools. They're really designed for pneumatic impact tools that don't hit as fast. Not necessarily as hard, it's as fast because it doesn't give the torque stick a chance to react and do what it's supposed to do. So I run them down good to 120 torque stick, and then at the end I'll torque them to the 148 with a manual torque wrench when it's on the ground. Okay, so now I got this front on the rear. Now I have to take that rear and put it on that front. And we'll do that now. So now with the car on the ground, I use that torque stick to get the 4 lug nuts tight. I'm going to take the factory locks that I got from Ford. When I ordered the car, they were just never installed on the car. We missed it and had to go back the next day to get them. They're made by Magard, so if you want to buy a set, just go buy a set of Magard. They're probably half the price of the Ford ones. So what I do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to put this on, put the key on it, and torque this one as my first one. And then I'm going to do the normal star pattern, and I'm going to finish with this one again as my last one. The reason why I don't put these on with the gun to get them semi-tight like the lug nuts are because if you slip up, you know, then you can pound a socket on this, and it's a pain in the ass to get it off, especially at 148 foot-pounds.
Set temp?
That's the bottom temp. Bottom lead. No, not that one. The other one.
What should it be at?
Below 150 or 200? Probably under 200 right now.
You're at 178.
Okay.
That's on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
The set temp is 208.
Yeah. That's when the alarm should go off that it's done.
Okay.
So that's it for our first maintenance. I had to use 2 jack stands, and I think because I jacked it up in the back and put it on a stand first because I was expecting to go my old sequence. Ford recommends a different sequence, so we went with their sequence. Front crisscross to the back and back straight up to the front. We went with Ford sequence. I will link the 21mm thin wall protected with a Teflon sleeve on it socket in the description below, along with the Magard lug nuts. So that's our first maintenance at, what were we at, 57, 58, 5900 miles. I like to do it. I used to like to rotate tires every other oil change when oil changes with 3,000 miles. That doesn't happen anymore with newer vehicles. All my old junk, I still rotate every other oil change. But with, like when we had that Ram pickup that was newer, what we did was we rotated that every 5,000 miles, and we got great wear out of the tires. So that's what I'm doing with this. Every 5,000, we'll give it a rotate, and hopefully we'll get nice, even longevity out of the tires themselves.
That's because it can't do burnouts.
It's hot and sweaty out here today. It's got to be 95 degrees and 90% humidity. We are now gonna put the windows up and give it a wash because we're hitting a road trip tomorrow that you will get a video on, of course, because we know how much you like the road trip Maverick videos, and we'll do some other testing and see how we do mileage wise, comfort wise, and we'll explore any quirks that we might have in it. As always, thanks for watching.